Oh, holy night.
Are we singing? Am I supposed to join in?
If you want. That was the part where you were supposed to just jump in.
We're making sugar cookies today. So this is not my recipe. This is a recipe that came from Kneaders Sugar cookies. Like, I think they put it on the news years ago, and I have altered it somewhat, but I didn't want to take credit for it. So it takes 2 cups of room temperature butter, which is 4 sticks, 1 cup of granulated sugar, and this is where I changed it. They call for 2 1/4 cups granulated sugar. I did 1 cup of granulated sugar and
Take
1
that.
and 1 1/4 cup of brown sugar.
Gotcha.
And then 1 cup of milk and 4 eggs.
Now the recipe is perfect.
Yes. And my mixer this is sped up, so my mixer looks like it's going really fast. It's not, but it doesn't really matter how fast you go at this point because I haven't added the flour yet. So to the flour, I'm adding a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of baking powder, and this is also, again, where I deviated. I added 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then the rest.
It's like a totally different recipe.
I know,
now.
I did change it a fair amount. Maybe I should just take credit for it.
Yeah.
No. It takes a tablespoon of honey. That was some beautiful honey that comes from one of our friends who has bees. And so I added that and a teaspoon of vanilla and then 8 1/2 cups of flour. And again, the recipe calls for 7 1/2 cups. I've never gotten away with 7 1/2
That's
cups of flour.
ridiculous.
I've always needed to add more. It's way too sticky. So, and once you add that flour, try not to, over mix like crazy because you still have to knead it a little bit. And so I put it out on my workbench on a floured surface, sprinkle more flour on top, get my hands, floured up, and just try to make it so that it's not super sticky. And it takes a little bit of time to add enough flour that I feel like I can roll it out without it sticking to my kitchen island.
Oh!
Yeah. It's really obnoxious when you go to cut out cookies and they're stuck.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to use a ton of flour because you don't want them to be like totally bread-like.
Doesn't taste good.
So
I
am making the manger, or not the manger. What is it called? The stable.
Stable.
Yeah. So I was using my bench scraper to do this stable, and
you just kind of free-handed it.
I did. The bench scraper makes a nice straight cut, and so I figured, I could cut a house out. I looked and looked for something that we could use, a cookie cutter that we could use to make a nativity scene. And I couldn't find one that would work for the actual stable.
That's what I kind of like about this video is because we didn't have a manger cookie cutter, but you kind of like worked with what you had. You got creative, and personally, I'm really impressed by the result.
So Tim was super helpful. I just have to go back just a second. I showed you how I make a piping bag out of parchment paper by cutting the parchment into a triangle and then making a cone out of it. So that's what we kind of glossed over a little bit. But
sorry.
No, you're fine. So I had Tim's help. I had him look at all of the shapes that I have, which I have a lot of cookie cutter shapes.
Oh, there was a few.
And I had him look at them, and I was like, okay,
hundreds.
Which ones at least?
Thousands.
No, not thousands, but at least 100.
Millions.
And I had him look at them, and I was like, okay, how do we make a nativity scene out of one of these shapes? And it was you who said the butterfly would work. So he kind of showed me how I could make the butterfly into a Mary and a Joseph and a baby Jesus. And so that's what I went with.
I just see spiritual things all over the place. I'm very in tune.
Yes, Tim is very in tune. No, he's very artistic and creative, and he can see things that I can't sometimes. Although I did see Baby Yoda in the bell shape.
That's true. That should be
So-
another video.
It should be. I did a baby Yoda out of an upside down bell because the bottom of the bell reminded me of his ears and the top of the bell reminded me of his cute little outfit.
See, you don't need to buy a billion of these cookie cutter things. You just need to look at things a little bit differently.
Yeah. Different perspective.
And
that's where I think Tim and I are good together because
yin and yang.
we can use
Salt
each
and
other
pepper.
as a... No.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Okay. That's better, I guess.
Sure.
I don't think we're opposites, though. I think we're both creative.
We're
That's
complementary.
Complementary is good, yeah. We're not the same, obviously, but it helps to have somebody who you can have as a sounding board to bounce ideas off of, and that's helpful to me because sometimes I'm a little lost.
Never.
Yes.
I would be lost without you.
So I'm using things. I'd be lost without you too.
That's sweet. This is a mushy one.
Yeah, this one's really good. I think it's the nature of what I'm making that's making us be a little more sentimental.
Yeah.
So I'm using royal icing to decorate the cookies. Oh, and I baked the cookies at 325 for about 10 minutes. Do not get very much color on them. You're just looking for them to not be shiny in the middle. And then take them out. And they're good. And then I made royal icing to decorate these with. And I've already made a royal icing video that shows you how to make it. So refer to that. It might be called royal icing.
Be a good name.
I'm pretty sure it's called royal icing. If not, it's in one of the gingerbread videos. So all I'm doing is I colored the royal icing all different colors, and I did make sure that it was a 10-second flood consistency. So I held when I made the royal icing, I added enough water so that when I dragged a spoon or dropped icing on itself, that it took 10 seconds for the icing to level out. And the reason for that is because I wanted the cookies to be smooth, but not have the icing just run off the cookie. Because trust me, that is so awful when you're making something and the icing is just pooling and dripping, and it's a disaster.
It's worst.
So icing consistency is kind of important. So also, I'm figuring this out as I went along. And I think that's important to say because at first I thought I wanted the butterfly cookies to be separate from the little mangers. Obviously, the mangers aren't all the same size, but it didn't matter because I knew they weren't going to go all to the same house. So we were giving them away. So nobody was going to see that
Not gonna see
somebody
them all
else.
together.
Yes. Yeah. So the only way...
Because that one kind of to the right is different than most of the other ones that you made.
All the rest. So what I decided to do was use the stable as a background, and then put
the freehand houses.
Yes, and then put the butterfly with Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus on top, and
the star.
And the star. So
that's coming later. Just
yeah.
Man, you're gonna love it. But I think the cool thing about that is it kind of gave like the cookies like a little bit more dimension too. It wasn't just a flat picture. It, it's
more like a
out.
nativity scene.
I feel
or
like
a diorama.
I'm there. Yeah.
That's kind of what I was going for. Was that
plus you get to eat more cookies, which I think whoever gets them will enjoy.
And you can't decorate a little. At least I can't. I don't have time to decorate. Cookies they're time consuming. And I didn't have time to make enough cookies to go to a family where each person in the family got a cookie. Does that make sense? I wanted it to be substantial enough that everybody could get part of a big cookie, and then we'll add some treats to it or something like that, fudge or cookies that aren't individually decorated. I think that's nice.
It's the nicest, yeah.
Each one of these cookies is like decorating a whole cake. They're not, they take time, and everything has to be done in pieces. I obviously decorated the first one to kind of figure out what I was doing. And then once I got that done, I set it aside and used it as my template or my standard for all the rest. And then I did the rest as more of an assembly line, because I think that saves a lot of time, not switching colors all the time, but just doing it piece by piece. And that also helps to add some definition in the icing.
How did you make sure you had enough icing for all the colors?
That's hard, because I really started to run out of brown, but I kind of looked at it and I went, okay, I'm going to need a lot of brown. I'm going to need a fair amount of blue. I'm not going to need a ton of white. So I set the white aside. I set a little bit aside, but yeah, I didn't run out of any, and I have a few bags. Impressive. But you can see my bag of brown started to get very depleted.
Yeah.
So.
But still, you guessed the perfect amount that you needed.
Yeah, and then
you don't need any more.
The good part is that royal icing can sit in the refrigerator and wait and be just fine.
So maybe go a little bit overboard.
Yeah.
More or not. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. So I also realized pretty quickly that I could put green on the bottom for grass. Instead of brown. And so there are little things like that you do when you're baking that just, kind of help out a little bit. Probably could have done
yellow too, like their hay.
Oh, yeah, I could have done more yellow.
All over the place.
That would have been smart.
Yeah. Or like blue if they're in water. Which doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't have done that.
I had cut out stars, and in my head I was thinking I would put, some Mary and Joseph cookies and some stars, or a little manger scene cookie with the, I keep calling it a manger. It's with a stable with a star. And so I thought I'd keep all the cookies separate. And I'm glad that I figured out that I could stack them and create kind of this mega cookie with the star and the stable and Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus in a manger. Because I think it turned out...
So is the manger like the little crib?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the stable is the... And I keep saying it wrong because I'm being silly.
I don't know if I've ever made that distinction before.
Yeah. The manger is like what baby Jesus is placed in.
Fun.
And the stable is what they're under. So, yeah. I just added these with a little bit of royal icing. See the little squiggle of blue royal icing, because that's what I had more of.
It all comes
together. Didn't matter what color. And when I did the background, that dark blue background, I piped little white dots to kind of create a star effect
sparkly
in the sky behind them. I could have made it all brown as though they were more enclosed in the stable, but I really wanted the sky, and I didn't have any way to add more sky to it. So they're just kind of under more of a canopy.
Yeah.
Than anything else.
All the best stables are canopies.
Right. So you can see that it's a little bit tedious. They're not my, they're not something that's fast and easy like some of the other things that I've shown you in my other videos.
But they are beautiful.
But they're fun.
Oui.
And it's not that often that we get to make Christmas cookies. So I really enjoyed making these, though. And I really enjoy you guys. Thanks for watching, and check out my other videos where I show you more things to do.
All right. Thanks for baking with the Braziers.